All right. Thank you, everybody. Do me a favor. Thank you again to Angela Brooks for joining us. Can we all just give her another round of applause? To get the head of a large national association like that to join us is extra special. She's incredibly busy, so we truly appreciate it. As you all know, Angela was just one of many speakers that we had with us this week who were all brought here to help you learn, to help you grow. We also had the help of so many of our members who worked with our staff on panels, pro standards, policy and programs questions, all to give you the most impactful programming that we could design for you, and we are grateful to everybody who helped make this week possible. We appreciate that you're all here. We've talked about this the last couple of years about what we want this programming to look like and to be like. And with the support of our leadership teams, we have been able to devote more resources to weeks like this because we know you are taking time out of your busy schedules. You're taking time out of running your business in a year where we know it's really hard to be in this business. And so we know the sacrifice that you're making to join us, not just for today, but for an entire week. And we're grateful for that, and we appreciate it. So we intentionally program these weeks for you to get the most out of them as possible. And at the end of the day, our hope is that you get as much out of them as we have put into them. We want it to be worth your while. So I hope that when you walk out of here today, that is something that you all are feeling and can take with you. Coming off our last session, I want to just talk about something really quickly that we intentionally don't talk about a lot. I want to talk about the word legacy. There's a reason we don't use that word a lot. In association world, legacy can too often be attached to one's personal ambitions, ego, a desire to elevate oneself above the association. We intentionally avoid talk of legacy, especially in leadership development, as volunteers work their way into the highest levels of service. But I do think that there is an appropriate context for us to talk about this. We all just sat through that conversation between myself and Angela, a noted expert on zoning and planning in this country. And hopefully, we all knew this already, but in case you didn't, my hope is that you learned here today just how much the decisions we make, especially in the areas of planning and policy, can have enormous long-term impacts. We noted in our conversation how decisions that were made over 100 years ago still reverberate in our communities throughout the state today. That is the power that is attached to shaping public policy. And just like any other power, it can be good or it can be bad. And as we all just saw, some of the decisions that were made over 100 years ago, they weren't just bad, they were devastating. But what we also learned from that conversation, what I hope you all took away from it, is that we have an opportunity today to create a new legacy. We have the opportunity today to be the authors of a new policy that sets the tone for the next 100 years. Both NAR and Illinois Realtors have spoken on this. NAR even lent its name to the solutions that are outlined in the Housing Supply Accelerator Playbook that we talked about. But even better than that, at this very moment, we are engaged in negotiations with the governor's office and legislative leaders, both at the state and local level, on the subject of housing supply, and zoning reform is a part of those conversations. We made it a part of those conversations. We made sure that this state housing supply group is aware of the history, is aware of the impact that these decisions had all those years ago. We have an opportunity to be the authors of a positive legacy, to fundamentally change the course of housing in this state and in this country for the next 100 years. And in that context, I think we should embrace the word legacy. I think we should embrace our role in this process. I think we should do whatever we can to be one of the loudest voices to change the direction of planning as it relates to housing. In the video that we all just watched, there was a clip there of Matt Silver testifying. And as part of the testimony, he included a line that we often give to lawmakers, which is, whatever your policy priority is, we can address it by prioritizing housing. So let's say your priority is safer streets. Great, prioritize housing, because stable housing will lead to safer neighborhoods and they lead to more economic opportunity. Which means that if your priority is economic opportunity, that's great too. Prioritize housing, because stable housing will lead to more jobs and more economic investment. If your priority is better schools, that's wonderful. Prioritize housing, because stable, healthy, growing neighborhoods will lead to stable, healthy, well-funded schools. How we prioritize housing can be multifaceted, but one of the ways that we do it has to be through the planning process. And we just saw and heard, we not only have the tools, we not only have the resources, but this is a time where we have the political will, and we will capitalize on it. I want to end our time here today for the week by doing one last thing, and that's helping remind everyone of something that's very important. What you all just watched in that video was really a story about the resiliency of realtors, the resiliency of our associations. And when you think about it, America really is a story of resilience. We model that. We model that same story that our country has outlined for us. Our country, just like many others, has gone through no shortage of challenges. I mean, our organizations have been around for what, 125 years or so. And in 125 years, think of everything that's happened. Think of all the ups and think of all the downs. And don't get me wrong, we've definitely benefited from the ups. But we've gone through the downs just the same as our country and everyone else in it. And when you think about it, America's greatness is its grind. It's the ability to grind it out and get to the other side. And we all know that not everybody makes it. Not every organization can. Just in our own modern history, we can all think of examples. We can think of Kodaks. We can think of Blockbusters. We can think of Blackberries. We have lots of examples of industries, companies, individuals who either ignored the future or refused to acknowledge it. They wouldn't innovate. They wouldn't adapt. And in the end, they couldn't survive. But look at us. 125 years later, economic highs, economic lows, and realtors and realtor associations continue to not just survive, but to lead. That is why America is so great. That is the story that we model. And we do lead. Most of the real estate-related consumer protection laws in every state in this country are the work of realtors who fought to make them happen. More than that, when times have been tough, we've led through selflessness. The same selflessness that is a part of every one of you, where when your neighbor sells a house with a different broker, you still want them to do well because you know that is good for all of your neighbors, that's good for your town, and that's good for your schools. So that video was about reminding you of two things. Your resiliency. Yes, the market is tough right now. Yes, our industry is still under attack from outsiders. But remember our history and remember how resilient you all are. And number two, it was a reminder of the resiliency of your state association and the role it has played for the members through all the good times and all the hard times. You've heard us talk about the power of advocacy. And frankly, we could spend another 2 days talking about just advocacy. But I want you to just look back at the last 5 years. Just look at COVID and look at how there's been one lawsuit after another, and you see an association or group of associations that have led their members through their reach in education, on making sure members have the best legal guidance possible, through our reach on professional development. You can see an association that has made it our mission to arm every member, engaged or not, with as much information and guidance and training and forms as possible for them to stay resilient. So yes, just like we said at this time last year, we live in a world of bad news. But that video reminds us that we have good news that we should always remember. You, the members, and your association have a history of being resilient, grinding out to the other side, so never forget that. So, let me close with another thank you. But not just a thank you for being here today or this week. Thank you for being advocates. Thank you for being educators. Thank you for being leaders that will help us follow in the footsteps of all those in our organization that came before us, that got us through the tough times, that led through change. Thank you for being leaders that will help write a new legacy for housing, not just in Illinois, but in all of America. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your engagement, which makes it possible for both you and for us to always continue being resilient. I hope everyone enjoys the reception right after this. We'll see you again at winter meeting.